Hello, scientists. Today we're going to talk about density and solubility. Okay, what is density? We're going to look at density compared to water, relative density. So we're going to drop some items into the water, and then we're going to see, do the items sink or float? Okay, that's basically what density is. Will the item sink or float? And then you're going to go ahead and test it out, and you're going to help me see which of these items will sink or float. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to create a table. Okay, so if you need to pause this video to create your table, then go ahead. Okay, so my table looks like this. Okay, notice that I set up the items that I'm going to have. I have my prediction. What do I think is going to happen? And then the actual words sink or float. Okay, and we'll talk about what does that mean at the end. Okay, so if it sinks or float, we're going to do little check marks depending on whether the item will sink or the item will float. Okay, so the items we're testing go here. My prediction, do I think it's going to sink or do I think it's going to float? And then what actually happened. Once you test, that is your experiment. Okay, so my prediction is really my prediction. I could be right or I could be wrong. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the items. So the first item I have is a rubber ball. Okay, what do you guys think will happen once I put this rubber ball into the beaker? Okay, next we have a wooden block. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go in order of my paper. Then I have a steel nut. Okay, this is the one you use for on the bolts. So rubber ball, steel nut. Okay. Then I have the wooden block. Okay. So what do you predict? Followed by paper clip. Then you have a plastic hook. Okay. It's made out of plastic. It's a hook. And then I have a penny. It's made out of copper, so copper penny. Then I have a ceramic tile. So this is the tile. Some like if it was to be a big one, you know, some people have it on the floor and they use that to that's where you walk on, or you can use this on the bathroom. Whenever in the shower, they have ceramic tiles on there as well. And then a glass marble. Okay, it's made out of glass. So those are the items that I have. I want you guys to predict. So I don't want to. My predictions are different than yours. So go ahead. One on your paper, the ones that we made a while ago. Go ahead and predict yourself. So please do that right now. You can pause the video, predict. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get going with the test, with the actual test. Okay. So let me put my camera down here. Okay, I'm gonna move this to the side. And here are my items. Here is my beaker. And let me put the camera down a little bit lower so that we can actually see. There you go, I think that's better. All right, so that you can actually see if it will sink or if it will float, okay? So let's go ahead and start with the rubber ball. What do you think is going to happen once I put the rubber ball in there? All right, let's test it out. All right, so the rubber ball actually went to the bottom. Okay, when it goes to the bottom, that means it sinks. Let's put that to the side. Okay, next one, the steel nut. Okay, it is made out of steel, so it is a metal. Okay, let's test it out. All right, and it also goes to the bottom. So it sinks. Man, look at these items sinking. Okay. The next one's going to be the wooden block. So it is made out of wood. It is kind of big. It is bigger than the ball, and it's bigger than the nut. So let's see. What do you predict? All right, so it floats. Notice that it's not touching the floor. It is in the air. I'm sorry, not in the air. It is on top of the water floating. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our table real quick. So the rubber ball, we said that it sinks. So I'm just going to put a check mark on there. The steel nut sink, and then the wooden block floats, okay? So that's basically what you have to do. After your predictions, okay? So after your predictions are done, then you just continue to do check marks on here, say, to see which one actually, or where it actually happened, okay? All right, so let's remove the block. Let's go to the next one. The next one is the paper clip. So what do you think, guys? Paper clip. All right, let's see. And it goes to the bottom. Okay, so it does sink. Okay, next one is going to be the plastic hook. Okay, so I have the plastic hook right here. We're gonna test it out. What do you guys think? And it sinks. All right, actually this one is the one that kind of confused me. I actually thought the plastic hook was going to float, because usually in nature, whenever I go to the ocean or something, it does float. So whenever I go to the beach, I see a lot of trash floating, okay, especially plastic. But this one kind of tricked me, because my prediction was that this actually floats. Okay, now the water here is, I have water from the faucet, so it's fresh water. Okay, the water from the ocean is salt water, and salt water actually has a different density than than this regular water. So maybe that's why it sinks. Okay, so I'm gonna continue filling out my table. They sink the hook. Okay, next one is going to be the penny. All right, the penny. Okay, and then the penny sinks. It also goes to the bottom. This one's kind of hard to get. All right, the following one is going to be the ceramic tile. Okay, here we go. And it also sinks. Man, does everything sink in here? All right. Followed by a marble, my last one, okay? The marble. Okay, so the marble also sinks. All right, so basically almost every object that we have here sinks. So looking at our table, I kind of finished, and I know I got a little bit wet, but most of the items I had, which is like the rubber ball, the steel nut, the paper clip, the plastic hook, the penny, the ceramic tile, the glass marble, they all sank. The only one that did float was the wooden block. Now, there is a proper way of saying this. There's a proper way of saying sink or float, okay? So whenever you're a scientist, you use a definition. And that definition is density, which is more dense or less dense. So if the rubber ball sinks, we're going to say that the rubber ball is more dense than the water, because we are comparing it to water, okay? And then, so I want you guys to start thinking about those sentences. So the next one would be the steel nut. The steel nut is more dense than water. And then our wooden block, it didn't sink, it floats. So instead of saying more dense, because more dense means to go down, it is heavier. More dense, we're gonna say float, so we're going to say the wooden block is less dense than water. Therefore, it floats. You see how I'm doing this? So the next one would be paper clip. So the paper clip is more dense than water, therefore it sinks. So that's basically what you have to do. More dense, less dense is the same thing as sink or float, okay? The only thing is that as a scientist, you have to use those vocabulary words, more dense or less dense, okay? So I want you guys to create your own sentences based on some of the items that you got here. At home, if you're at home, you can go ahead and grab a couple of items. And I know this video does go to YouTube. So if you want to go ahead and comment the items that sink and then the items that float, I want to see a list of items in my YouTube channel. Okay, because I do want to start seeing those comments, guys. I get no comments. So go ahead and comment some items that sink and then some items that float. Notice that most of the items that I had, they all sank. Okay, so I'm looking for more of the items that float. So what are some items that float? All right, guys. Remember, density is will it sink in water or will it float in water? If it sinks, it is more dense. If it floats, it is less dense. Okay, and it will go on top of the water. All right, guys.